What's going on, guys? This is Remy with Level 1 News, and I'm here to bring you our review of Samsung's latest flagship TV, which is their Q8 QLED. And it's actually a line of Q TVs, which is Q7, Q8, and Q9. We got the chance to review a Q8 65-inch, so here's what we thought. So pretty much the QLED from Samsung is Samsung's answer to the OLED that many companies have. This is pretty much taking an LCD display, LED backlighting, mixed in with a quantum dot technology, and the outcome is a brighter, more functioning TV of sorts, which also has HDR and everything else, which I'm getting into in a moment. The TV supports 4K HDR10 and HDR10 Plus, which is pretty much a higher version of HDR10 with a more dynamic kind of range and tones to it. The TV actually connects with Samsung's One Connect through a fiber optic cable, so pretty much what you're getting is the TV as it is and a little box that is Samsung's One Connect, and this is pretty much the brains of the operations. This is where you'll get your apps, sort of like Netflix, HBO Go, Amazon, and a bunch of other things. It's like almost like a mini receiver of sorts. So it has 4 HDMI connectors with a bunch of other things. The HDMI connections supports HDMI 2.A, which is suitable for 4K and 60 Hz, great for gaming and entertainment like live TV. And it also has one of the HDMI ports being an audio return channel. So if you connect it to a receiver or a home entertainment unit, you could pretty much get the sound from that if you select it on the settings. Out of the box, the TV actually had pretty good color range. We didn't have to do too much tampering, but of course, to review it, we did do some calibration. But I would say from there to our calibration, it wasn't that much. But when we did calibrate it, I mean, it gave us a good sense of pop for what the TV has to offer if you're able to perform such things or whatever to your liking. We're going to start off with what is some of the best features for our audience, which is the gaming aspect. We tried out the Samsung TV on 1080 and 4K with gaming, everything from an Xbox One S, PC, and PlayStation 4 Pro. The results were pretty good across the board. 1080p, you're looking at games that give you really good color balance, more than any other TV that's 1080 of that class. But where it really shines is the 4K and HDR. So we tried everything from games like Gears of War 4, Forza Horizon 3, and the newly released Injustice 2, which all support HDR10. These games look really good on HDR10. They look good at 1080p without it, but with HDR10, especially in games like Injustice 2, you see the wide range of color which it can perform, and I feel like things just get really deep in color that you hadn't noticed before. A cool thing that I'm sure is not exclusive to game consoles, but obviously I'll speak about that, is on its initial boot, you'll actually get sort of like a welcoming that you connected a console like the Xbox One S or the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and it'll actually add the icon to the dashboard, so it pretty much knows that you connected the unit with your actual console, and it's going to be ready to go from there, which is really cool. Also really good to know, as a gaming performance unit, it performs really well. It has around 24 milliseconds across the board, so for gaming, that's actually very well to play it. But if you want to get in a more competitive field or make sure that things are as close to your button being pushed as possible, you can put it on the gaming mode, which most gaming modes for TVs work well, but this one's at like under 20 milliseconds, which is really good. I think you can pretty much play at almost a tournament level with that stuff. Like as an entertainment person and just like casual gaming, that's all fine. It's fine actually with just the HDR or like gaming mode off, but with the gaming mode off, it gives you just a slight bit more, which is really good. Now, for entertainment, we noticed that watching movies at 1080p looked better than it did on another LED TV or whatever of, like of similar sort of caliber, but obviously with Samsung having a QLED with the quantum dot technology and their proprietary technology in it, this TV looks really good in 1080p, but obviously, like I've said before with other stuff, the 4K and the HDR, that's where it shines. So we tried a couple movies in 4K and in HDR, everything from Deadpool, Sausage Party, and Batman v Superman, and we did a couple of different takes on it having 1080p versus like 4K, and you just notice that the blacks get deeper, the contrast gets higher, even though the contrast of the TV is already great. The separation of color is just that much better. It actually makes Batman v Superman slightly viewable. So there's that. So first we tried out Netflix onboarding app with the Samsung TV, and that performed very well. Pretty much showed up everything that it needed to, which was going to be in 4K and HDR. And we tried things like Love, The Iron Fist, and other shows, and they looked really well in 4K and HDR. And in 1080p, it will look fine as well, but that's where really things look really good. It's pretty crazy because HBO Go doesn't support 4K HDR, but that app with the shows on this TV, it's looked better than I've ever seen it on any other TV, and we've tested it on a couple other 4K HDR TVs. So things we didn't like on the TV, there's not much to say that we didn't like. Like other 4K and HDR TVs, you have to actually enable the mode for 4K and HDR. It's not out of the box, and it doesn't do an auto detect. I feel like something like that will maybe come in the future. But for now, if you have something that's 4K or HDR enabled, you're gonna have to go into the settings and kind of toggle on that actual port of HDMI supports 4K and like HDR and stuff like that, and it'll just switch it on. If not, you won't get anything coming out of that except for 1080p. Another issue could be the viewing distance. It's not a big deal for us, but anything over 90 degrees, you're pretty much distorting the view. It doesn't have like a big range, but this is also coming from an LCD, so that's something to take note of. It's not like, like a crisp OLED where it'll give you that sort of wide range. Our last note is that the price for the TV is a bit steep. You're talking about something that's probably like one of the top of the line TVs if you're not getting an OLED. But this TV at itself, which is the curved Samsung QLED 65-inch TV, is about $4,000. And that's around the price that you're getting for other TVs of competitive prices and like actual like rivaling sort of color and everything else. The LG OLED TV that's 4K and HDR is around the same price, and then Sony's Bravia OLED TV with 4K and HDR is about maybe $1,000 more. So it's around the same range, which could be kind of disappointing if you want to get a little bit more affordable pricing, but something that's like as good, if not better than an OLED. What you're really paying for here is not only the color range, its contrast, the brightness, it's also the form factor. The fact that it's curved, it looks great. It has a single layer bezel display where it's barely visible. And then even the stand, it gets pushed back a little bit so that it kind of looks like it's floating in the dark. It's a well-made display. Overall, this is one of the best TVs we've seen this year, and honestly, this is probably going to be one of the best TVs that's going to come out. And this is already the first half of the year. As a gamer, you can't go wrong. I put a good amount of hours playing different kinds of games or whatever, and this would be my primary kind of TV to play games, HDR, 4K, and with the newly coming out Scorpio, which will be announced later, but will come out later this year, this sort of seems like the best kind of push to have if you want top of the line technology, an actual TV and picture performance versus, you know, your top of the line actual gaming entertainment. This is something I would say that this is a TV that you could pick up for everything else, whether it's just viewing things in 1080p, being ready for 4K and HDR coming in the future, which obviously is going to be a lot more of that the second half of the year, and HDR and 4K look absolutely amazing on this. I wouldn't say it's 100% the best, but I would say it's like in the 90s range of like what you're gonna get for a TV like this. So if you guys like this review, please subscribe to the channel, like the page, like the video. We'll be bringing more, maybe some more test stuff from Samsung with the QLED and see what's going on. This is Remy with Level News, signing out.